everyone, it's a Myriad. Welcome back to the Eternal Card Breakdown. It's been a hot minute since we've had any new cards to discuss, but we have a new set coming out January 18th. The set is called Behemoths of Thera. Here's the fancy little introduction art for it, and as you can see, we got definitely some actual behemoths. But yeah, we have 5 new cards to discuss from that set, and you can bet that when it comes out, we will be streaming and playing it on YouTube and Twitch. So you can be sure to check us out there, Twitch TV/Myriad. We're going to be going into these cards, and we're going to be talking about each one in turn. First things first, the pre-order stuff. When you pre-order the setup, you get the Arcanum Totem, you get some fancy new sigils, which are actually super pretty looking. These are gorgeous. I think Eternal usually knocks it out of the park with sigil design in general. All of the alt art sigils have been really cool and really unique, but these ones kind of take the cake. There's some like really cool stuff going on with like the gilding on these, and it's just exciting to see and play. I think these are definitely going to be pretty worth the pre-order package overall. We also get an alt art torch and a couple of other things like draft packs and stuff just to get started. I think overall it's a pretty decent package, mainly just for these sigils. Like, such a pretty set. But yeah, definitely some cool things going on with it. There have been 5 cards announced so far, and one of them is part of a, of course, cycle of 5, as you saw in the art. But let's go to that last, and first things first, let's cover the big splashy promo. Elity of the 100 Hands. Elity is a 4-cost double shadow 4/4. When another unit is sacrificed, gets +2/+2, and also has Spellcraft 3, Play the End is Near, which discards the top 10 cards of your deck. So first things first, this is a reasonably efficient shadow unit. It's got some good general sort of setups. Cultist and Rogue I think are both like reasonable things to have going on. I actually have been playing in a lot of Arkham, so I think that's why I'm so excited about Cultist, but I don't think it's actually that relevant of a Eternal keyword. But even so, like, reasonably efficient 4/4 that also gets a really significant stat boost anytime you sacrifice other units. In a Shadow Recursion deck, this can be pretty good. You can often sacrifice things for almost free to boost this card up, and then of course it continues to come back bigger and bigger every single time. I think that Shadow's Sacrifice is usually a really strong archetype, so a mid-range unit that sort of supports that whole value while also eventually getting you into a place where you can basically just make sure you never have a dead draw again is kind of cool. I think once you're paying the Spellcraft on Elity of the 100 Hands, you no longer really want to draw power anyways. You're probably at 7 power, and that's more than enough to actually keep you going for the rest of the game, unless you're looking to play like some other really large cards. There are a couple of 8 costs and things that are definitely pretty exciting, but overall this seems like, yeah, a good sort of mix of mid-range, sort of secure your late game, and also the ability to sort of like put a bunch of units into your void so you can start playing around with other sort of reincarnation shenanigans. This card doesn't look super powerful on its own. It looks basically like run-of-the-mill average, but I think that the combination of the End is Near and the like overall flexibility combined with a good set of stats, the hero tagline, and just like basically that sort of continuing to get bigger and bigger kind of puts this in a bit more of a strong place. Like, you can really do some good things with it. It's going to get very big and difficult to handle, and if you're using any sort of like resurrection engines to play this card over and over again, this just, you know, gets pretty bonkers and out of control because most sacrifice decks don't have a lot of very big units. So Elity seems interesting. I think he's overall a better than average card, maybe not completely broken or anything like that, but definitely like really fits in slot for what types of things you want to be doing, and will be a fairly defining legendary for like things that we want to be seeing. Obviously, there's a whole set to see, so hard to say where he's going to stand in power level in that front, but all in all, it doesn't look like he has any crippling weaknesses or anything like that, and definitely seems like a pretty interesting and strong option. 3 cards were spoiled during the World Championships, so we're going to look at those as well. We also have the Amethyst Beetle, the Twilight Lantern, and okay, let's see if I can get that Amethyst Beetle up here. Oh, it's, yeah. The Amethyst Beetle and the Twilight Lantern. So the Amethyst Beetle has a keyword on it. It is Hunt. We don't know what Hunt does yet. It is a 4, but at the moment this is a 4-cost 2/2 with lifesteal. It has Summon Hunt 2, which on a 2/2 for 4 indicates that Hunt might be a relatively powerful keyword, just due to the fact that a 4-cost 2/2 is pretty understated. The ultimate ability is kind of nice, and this is like certainly something that you can maybe play without the Hunt keyword, but clearly Hunt is going to be doing something that actually like makes this card a little bit more worth it, because as it stands right now, it's a kind of sacrificable like chump beetle that you can put in front of things to gain a little bit of life back, and just kind of use to like push out some extra stuff. So the ultimate is pay 7 to give an enemy unit -3, -3, and the Hunt ability has a number on it, which we can start to speculate. Could be something like search your library for the top 2 cards and then play something that has like less strength, or play something that has more strength, or kill some amount of units, deal some amount of damage to units. There's all sorts of potential options that you can actually sort of be playing around with. I think until we know what Hunt does, we can't have a solid idea of what this card is worth, but it's pretty interesting to see that there's going to be a new mechanic out, and also the old mechanics that are coming back are going to be very, very exciting. I'm very glad to see Spellcraft again. It's one of Eternal's stronger basic mechanics, and the other basic mechanic that is returning is, drumroll please, but not really, Twilight Lantern. So yeah, summon Nightfall. We have Nightfall back again. This is another one of Eternal's really, really strong mechanics. It is a great time. Nightfall effectively says that when you summon this unit, it turns the entire board to night. People draw extra cards for a round and take a damage when they draw that extra card. In addition, Twilight Lantern also has the extra text of when you draw your second card in a turn, it deals double damage this turn, and we're going to see a lot of other like Nightfall focused stuff most likely in this set, so that's pretty interesting right away. So Twilight Lantern is a 2/2 when it plays, but attacks as a 4/2, which is pretty reasonable for an aggressive red card. It also has 2 relevant subtypes. It's both an Oni and an Explorer, which means it can go in both Explorer decks and Oni decks, which there are quite a few of those in both Throne and Expedition that are definitely worth playing around with. I'm pretty excited to see what all types of interesting Explorer shenanigans we can run around with, but the ability to draw extra cards is really, really good in aggro. This card deals 4 damage face, and then also an additional 1 from Nightfall, which means that in an aggressive strategy, it can be really out of control, and also it really pairs very, very well with attack-based triggers such as Rampage, the +3/+1 Overwhelm, anything that gives it additional like Overwhelm damage or Quick Draw or any other like, variety of interesting things. If you give it lifesteal, you feel pretty happy about it. I think Overwhelm is definitely the place that you're most wanting to go. Like if you can give this +2 an Overwhelm or +3 an Overwhelm for any amount of power, then it suddenly becomes super, super worth it. And double damage is really, really strong in general. So yeah, this is pretty cool. And in addition, because the card gives you Nightfall, it's just going to be really, really solid in red aggressive decks. It's going to give you basically endless amounts of hands and allow you to play much lower curves where you can have like just a lot of small units. The disadvantage, of course, is that your opponent draws cards first, which can be quite devastating when dealing with aggressive strategies, but that's all in the game with Nightfall. There's some really, really interesting things that you can do with it, and the chip damage of Nightfall combined with the ability to just spray lots of extra small units out onto the board really makes it so that you can do some pretty exciting stuff. I think this should be a pretty interesting red staple, and at common, of course. So really, really cool stuff. The last one that was shown off during Worlds is Deep Freeze. This is a 6-cost triple blue that says play a Permafrost on each enemy unit. Permafrost, of course, being an attachment, or rather a curse, that prevents the unit from basically exhausts the enemy unit and means that you don't get to play it anymore. So yeah, this is quite good. We can obviously lock out a lot of different things here. The thing I like this most for, of course, is Krill, which is a 7-cost triple blue, triple red that destroys a bunch of attachments to get a bunch of stat lines. This is one of the best ways to create like a number of different cards on a full board that I can think of. And overall, I'm otherwise not too excited by it. I think it is a decent removal spell that is sort of like effectively a blue wrath where you can disable a large number of units all at once, but of course those units can still trigger ultimates. They can still do any number of things like have endurance and therefore not get hit by it. There's a lot of ways that like units can still have value when having permafrost placed on them. So this will really only work well as like a powerful card if you're also pairing it with other stuff that cares about attachments and curses and just general placement of units. I'd say it's a low power level card, barring any like really significant synergies. But if you have some really good synergies, then potentially it gets really out of control. And it's always nice to have like some big rare spells that can do some things like that. I think that this looks really interesting, and the ability to play just a lot of different permafrosts can definitely create some cool gameplay situations. So we'll see how it plays out in the new set. But overall, my expectations are a little high, despite this being a below average card on power level. Definitely some really, really cool stuff there. Okay, did we miss any? No, those are the 4 that have been spoiled. The last one, of course, you have already seen because it was at the very, very start here, and that is the Silixes. That's right, the 5 Silixes that have not been printed, aka the 5 other color pairings, now each have a Silix, which standard depleted allow you to draw an extra card, aka, or rather draw a treasure trove, which is a 2-cost card that allows you to then draw another card. These cards are deceptively powerful still and extremely good for late game control decks. Throne is going to be really, really excited to see the full cycle printed because a lot of the color pairings that were left over really needed the Silixes for some amount of extra influence gain as well as for the extra card advantage that they provide. Pairing Silixes with crests means that you can get really, really strong power bases that can produce a lot of high influence creatures and also create a lot of card advantage and pseudo card advantage using the scouts and the treasure troves. This combination really allows you to play some like very, very good slow control decks. So we can look forward to seeing a lot more of that in Throne, and probably these will see some Expedition play as well. I'm sure that they see a decent amount of color pairing fits. So yeah, we can definitely expect to see all 5 of those. That's going to be really, really fun. I'm very excited to see the new cycle of Silixes. The hybrid power cards are always super pretty, and this is like a really, really nice art piece that we can play around with and do some cool stuff with. But yeah, I mean, I'm actually just very excited to play slow Huru decks. Huru has a lot of like very deep influence cost cards, I would say more so than most, and the absence of the Huru Silix has actually been felt for the last like 2 or 3 sets that we have not had it. Now that we do have all 5 in the cycle, it's going to be kind of a game changer for a wide variety of slower decks in different color pairings. I think this should by itself shake up the meta in some pretty interesting ways, and we'll see some slow control decks as a result. I'm going to be trying to put out some more Eternal content in the very near future. We'll definitely have some other stuff coming out on both of our channels pretty soon, but you can definitely expect to see me streaming this on January 18th when it comes out, which is approximately 1 month from now. So stay tuned for that. We'll also probably be around for the pre-order events and a couple of other things. Happy Christmas, everyone. We got a new Eternal set sort of for Christmas, so hopefully we're going to be seeing some other fun stuff, and yeah, enjoy the holidays. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you very soon with more Eternal.